Hello, everybody. It is sometime wherever you are, I believe 1 p.m. Pacific, which would make that 4 p.m. Eastern, which would make that 11 p.m. in Ukraine. I'm gonna let David pop in here. Let's see, we've got David here. Let me boost you up to an organizer, David. There we go. Did you get granted that access, Dave?
Yeah, I got it.
There
Can you
we
hear me?
go. Awesome. Yeah, I believe we are recording. Apologies, everyone. Yesterday, I actually just noticed as I was starting this webinar that unfortunately, I think I split our webinar list in half. So everyone that had registered for the first webinar didn't somehow get into this webinar. And now there's two different GoToWebinar groups. It's unfortunate. I'll deal with that tomorrow, or actually after this call. Today is going to be our monthly Q&A webinar for October. So you guys can all feel free to start dropping in your questions. It is 9 p.m. UK time. Yes, it is. Feel free to drop in your questions, anything you have on your mind, whether it's about AdWords, whether it's about any of the training, whether it's about the pay-per-lead deals that you are working on, whether any of you ladies and gentlemen have any problems that you've hit trying to close deals, basically anything at all. And I know, David, we already have a
Yeah, we have quite a few
few.
questions.
Perfect. Maybe we'll start with those and we'll kind of go through those really quick. Actually, before we get into those, I do have one thing to talk about that I'm going to make an update in the training about. Oh, it's been, man, it's been a real busy last couple of months here. Um, about maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, Google made an update with its match types, and it's kind of messed up SCAG campaigns and SCAG targeting. I'm in the process of moving my campaigns over and testing out some different stag strategies, which instead of single keyword ad groups is more of a single themed ad group. A bit easier to bang out, but does kind of leave almost a larger gate of or a larger flow of potential unrelated keywords. So that is something I just wanted to start with today that everyone should be um, alerted of and aware of is that kind of recent change to the match type variants or exact match variants and phrase match variants. So that does it essentially Google opened up the the amount of keywords that match against things like phrase and even exact match now is, if you have noticed, is popping um, synonyms and various keywords that it wasn't a couple of months ago. So that is particularly of interest to everybody that's running SCAG campaigns. Um, if you have any more questions about that, feel free to ask. Other than that, David, if we want to just kind of start off with that list and then we can get to any questions that anyone here has. And then we will schedule out the next Leads Academy call and call it a day.
Yeah, perfect. Let's do, I've got that sheet up. Do you have that sheet up?
I do not have that sheet up.
Oh, I
Let
sent
me
it to you. Go click that on Skype there.
got it. Okay, perfect.
Cool. So one of the first questions is actually a sales question. So I'll kind of just go over this. This is an outbound sales question. And it says sometimes the gatekeepers answer the phone call without stating his or her name. The gatekeeper may also speak too fast, and we can not really get the name. How to politely get the gatekeeper's name, or do we continue without the need to know the gatekeeper's name? Actually, I could not find this answer on Google either. Yes, I mean, realistically, you probably don't need the gatekeeper's name because you're actually trying to find the owner's name. But it's always polite to know someone's name. So realistically, you can literally just say, sorry, I didn't catch that. And you can grab their name real easy. So it's not like, you got to understand that you're a regular human being and they do not know who you are before you talk to them, right? So they don't know you're a salesperson. They don't know you're anything. They just answered the phone with, hi, this is so-and-so's dentist office, or hi, this is so-and-so's, HVAC office. That someone speaks too fast and said something, they still don't know if you're a customer or a sales guy or anything. So sorry, I didn't catch that. What was your name again? Real something simple like that. So that's a real easy objection to overcome that one. The next one is partner outreach agreement signed. Says, I saw this agreement template having a manual credit card insertion. What payment platform that can be used to manually key in the credit card details? Is there any way to automate the credit card payment without the need for the client to provide us the credit card details, trust and privacy issues? So that's a good question. I personally, the form that I put into the agreement partner outreach sign module was, that's actually the exact form that we use and that we send out. You can, you could put that in a Google Sheet to where you could, we just put it in a PDF and send it over via Adobe Sign. And get that agreement signed, and they send it back. So they're inputting it on their side, but it's all, pretty secure with that, Adobe Sign. They manage all that stuff for you, and then it just comes back to you. So managing those payment platforms, we use Stripe. I'm unaware if that works worldwide. There are other payment platforms that work. Like Payoneer that I know of that is more for Europeans or any of those platforms. So, that payment platform is probably not, whatever one works for you best in your country. You could probably look up best payment platforms, in your country, and you'll find them. I don't know. Do you know if Stripe works for worldwide? Name?
Yes, Stripe is international.
Okay,
We have everything in Jensen runs through Stripe.
cool.
And then I know we do support Canadian dollars, Australian dollary dues, US dollars, Great British pound, and that's just a small percentage of the actual list that um, Stripe itself supports.
Okay. And then she said, is there any way to automate the credit card payment without the need for that? So I don't do any automation on that part. Do you guys?
And yeah, we do all of our automated billing through Jensen. There's also a hack you can put together with QuickBooks Online that I know I've spoken to a couple of guys that are using some sort of invoice hack to get that automated there. Um, there's you can do a self-hosted option where you embed a simple Stripe uh, payment. It's a little bit more technical,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, any of those options will work. If you're doing just the simplest billing method, which would be fixed billing, and you're not doing exactly the pay per lead model, Jensen easily handles that.
Yeah.
Um, when you get into the pay per lead, price per lead, we handle that as well, but you're going to be probably working with us a bit to get that system in place for at least the first month or two, because there's just a lot of edge cases that we see with not only our own campaigns but a bunch of our customer campaigns.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's, that we've never really had an answer to your question here, Jennifer. I don't know if you're on or not, but we've never really had an issue with someone submitting their credit card details in an Adobe signed format. So that's never really been an issue. And then entering their credit card details into a Stripe account, very, very easy. And charging them is no issues with that. So I think that would be the least of your worries, getting someone signed on. So um,
Definitely.
looks like the other ones are kind of landing page lead generation. So
Yeah, let me
you can
roll
answer a
through
couple of those, and
these.
then if I have any input, I'll do the same.
Got it. Okay, so we have landing pages for local lead gen. How should we charge the client if there are form submissions and a phone call from the same prospect? We count that as a duplicate and we only charge one time
Yep,
to
same.
keep that answer short and sweet. Let's see, SCAG setup. What is the right approach to set up multiple Google Ad accounts, one email per account per domain, one email for multiple accounts for multiple domains, or use the Google Ad Manager? So we use a Google MCC account. We actually stack a lot of our campaigns in the same ad account that is then underneath the main MCC that we have. That MCC does everything from manages some of our SaaS ad campaigns, our retargeting for local Viking and Jensen. Um, so that is perfectly fine to do under one roof. I do recommend just starting at the top with an MCC account and working your way down from there. Let me see the
One
next one.
second.
You've got a dog over there in your room, David?
We got the air show out here in Orange County, and they're obviously testing the jets.
Got it. Okay, so AdWords for local lead gen, ad creation and split testing. Do we use the same Google ad copy with different landing pages or different ad copies with the same landing page? That's a great question. Usually how I run split testing is I like to do one side at a time. So I'll use one landing page and split test multiple different ad copies through to it. And then once I have kind of the first, let's say the first 4 to 8 weeks done, I've identified a good ad copy that I like. That's usually very simple with this kind of local lead generation. Then I will take the winner and I will start split testing against the landing page. My idea being that split testing the ad copy up front is what you need to do to kind of optimize CTR. And if you optimize CTR first, then split testing the landing page is going to be more optimal because you're going to have more traffic coming through with an ad that's getting more clicks or a set of variant ads that are getting more clicks. So I usually do one at a time. Um, that's always worked out for me. I try not to overcomplicate things. So that's kind of my philosophy on split testing. Um, let's move down the list here. Rapid and unfortunately technical lead gen campaign creation. Question is, when we create a landing page using this method, do we need to change all the URL structure in index.html or just leave them as they are? This is going to be something I probably will have to review after the fact and get back to you. I'm not 100% sure what this question is quite asking. I believe what you want to make sure that you do is just make any link that's on the page, even though you really shouldn't have that many links, anything that is there, make sure that it goes somewhere and you're not just 404ing people. Otherwise, I do kind of keep an identical structure as I'm scaling out. So if I have like a plumbing campaign in Orange County and a plumbing campaign in New York, I'll keep everything as similar as possible, minus the ad copy that calls out the geo. But everything like URL structure, thank you page structure, all of that stays the same as I cut and paste. Next question here. Do we use the same main domain for Google AdWords and SEO? Do we put our lead agency name on the main domain or a fictional name? Do we put client's real business name for city subdomain? That's a good question. So the way that I do it, let's say that, going back to that plumbing example, I'm running a plumbing campaign and I want to have an SEO site, so maybe californiaplumbers.com, and I'm going to be working on that, ranking it, and then I want to have a couple of geos within California that I'm going to run AdWords to a subdomain. So I might have Los Angeles californiaplumbers.com or Los Angeles.californiaplumbers.com. And so at no point would my lead agency's name touch that. It's like the fictitious business name that is a California plumbing business is what would be all over the site. And then in terms of using the client's real business name for a city subdomain, you can use a client's business name just so you keep a bit of cohesion between the landing page and the phone call and the person that answers the phone call. Sometimes we will use assets of a client, like their logo and their business name. Other times we'll just keep it generic. There are a small percentage of times where customers or clients or leads will express a little bit of confusion that they just went and landed on californiaplumbers.com and now Joe Plumbers is picking up. And the usual way that we work with our companies that we sell leads to when we do that is if a client ever asks or a lead ever asks about that and expresses confusion, they can just say, oh, hey, we work with that company. We actually take their lead overflow. And that has pretty much soothed every situation that's ever arisen from that. That's just how we run things. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's go here. We got 3 more questions or 4 more questions on this list. Okay, another question here about, looks like JSON schema. We build another website for lead gen, even though client already has a website. I saw that in the tutorial, there's an option for using the same as URL. Do we need to insert client existing website into our JSON? How should we do JSON for multiple local business locations? Okay, let me take these one at a time. So the first one, should you use the same as schema elements or schema attribute if you're using a lead gen site and you have a client that already has a site? No, you should not do that. What you should use the same as schema attribute is to link to things like your lead gen's Twitter account or your Facebook URL, or if you have a Wikipedia page, if that would be more in the case of if you're a real business. So you don't want to throw a same as schema attribute from your lead gen site to your client's actual site. That would be weird, and I do not recommend doing that. So that's more for helping Google and semantic search and the knowledge graph to kind of understand all of the different properties that are related to your brand, your business. So that's how you would use the same as. How do we do JSON for multiple local business locations? There's actually a couple of different methods for doing that. I can see that the next question down or 2 down is going to provide the answer. So if you go to the local lead gen site build SOP, there is a specific checklist item that walks you through exactly how one of the methods for doing schema for multiple business locations on a single site, and it's fairly easy to follow. Let's go to the next part here. Do we use clients' existing GMB sites for JSON, or do we create a new one? So you're probably, I would say at no point, unless you're running an AdWords campaign to a subdomain, do you want to use any of the client's information on your websites, and that would only be in the content or with the logo. You're going to want to leave out your client's site in your schema completely. So you just want to build like a unique brand and a unique knowledge graph, and you're going to want to disassociate that from any potential client. And the last question, for your example, San Diego Concrete Design, do we need to insert our real business name or just create a fictional name? So you would just keep with that fictitious business name. What we're trying to do with building lead gen assets is mirror everything about a real local business, and then that helps not create any issues where you're throwing weird signals to Google in the SERPs, and they might not want to rank your lead gen site if you're trying to signal to them that your lead gen site is related to a client site that's already ranking. What you want to do is kind of build your own fortress. So hopefully that answers that. The next question here, SEO related, anchor text classification. I guess the question's not really related to classification. So where to get good quality links? That's a fantastic question. I'll maybe take a little stab at this, David, and then you can kind of hop in with your experience. I have always preferred for lead gen sites to purchase links from vendors. So there was a point in time that I bought out the entire inventory for love2.link, love to link. Obviously have bought tons of links from web20ranker.com. There is a whole laundry list. If you shoot me an email, I can just drop you some of my bookmarks that I have. I know the guys in England, Charles Floats, seem to be doing a good job with DFY links, even though those are a bit pricey. They're doing niche edits, and I think they have pretty much every type of link you need now. So that's kind of everything for lead gen. Now, for larger sites where I've had a team, we've done a lot of stuff with Haro, Help a Reporter Out. We had a sexual health site that managed to get some really good links with one of our content writers that we actually trained on responding to the Haro requests. Those generated some really good links. And then we also did a bunch of manual outreach ourselves to niche relevant sites. And then maybe David, you can chime in on this because I know you do a whole mess of manually built links with your own team.
Yeah. So we used to do a lot of the kind of like the old styles too, of like, PBNs and stuff, and we kind of moved over just to same thing, link builders, a lot of the same link builders that kind of everybody is getting, which you're acquiring, a lot of good links, and especially with like these lead gen sites, in the less competitive niches, it only takes, a handful of good niche edits or some guest posts or any of that stuff. I know Matt Diggity kind of does a little bit more of the guest post style, and then there's plenty of guys out there that do the niche edit style that you can do. We do a little bit more of our own manual outreach where we actually, just because we have so many websites that I just built my own team that does the outreach myself. And therefore we kind of acquire the links for a little bit cheaper than that you would pay from any of the link builders.
Do you have an
But then,
idea, David, of what your average cost per link is when I guess let's factor out the labor of your team, but like just in terms of deals that you negotiate directly with website owners, are you paying like 25, 50, 75, 200?
Yeah, so it just kind of depends on what I'm linking to. Like for example, like our national website, we have two of them that we're currently working on right now. We purchase, the big $300 ones quite a bit, but our average, I would say, is probably around $60 to $70 for those. But those are some really decent, really really high quality links. And then on my local ones, my little local websites that we're just kind of like, pushing maybe 10 to 15 of those a month. I would say that those are probably around average of 40 a link. So much cheaper, but those are less powerful. It doesn't take a lot of those to really start getting some really good push on those. So um, and then the only other thing is you're going to come upon some like real some real sorry about that. You're going to come upon some real websites that, let me close this real quick so that doesn't do it again. You're going to come upon some real websites that are local relevant, and you can ask them to do a guest post on if they're trying to do some content on their blog. So we do a couple of guest posts on really local, like say if you're in the HVAC niche, and you're in Los Angeles, and there are plenty of other Los Angeles companies that they don't have to be in the HVAC niche, but if they're trying to rank their website and they're trying to do content, you can simply just contact them. And these are mostly for our lead gen sites, so there's no really recourse if we reach out to them and they tell us no, we're not interested. They're not going to call our website, and there's no recourse for doing this. But this is a good way of just doing it. They may ask for a reciprocal link, which is completely fine. Reciprocal links are not nearly as bad as people think. They work really well for the local stuff, as well as you just doing some guest posting. And if they're trying to rank their website and you kind of do a montage of their niche and your niche combined, and you could come up with some cool topics, it's a great way to get really really cheap links that are super super relevant, because you not only want niche relevant, that if you're buying these niche edits or you're guest posting on other big websites, you're getting just kind of like your general niche edits. But in the local stuff, you really, really want some local links, and that's just the best way I've found to get those really local links. And they don't even have to be powerful. Like if you're in the HVAC and you come upon just a random, maybe a home improvement, maybe just in the, I don't even know, like pressure washing, company or something like that. It's not really super relevant, but it's very local. And this is just only if someone's kind of optimizing their website. If they do not have a blog, they could care less to respond to you. But if they do have a blog and they're wanting content, there's many websites out there that do have legit blogs, and they have maybe SEO companies, or they're really into their niche and they're writing those blog posts themselves, and they just they're all for you writing a blog post and getting a link back. And then again, they may ask for a reciprocal link, and it may not cost you anything, and then you give them a link and they put a link on theirs, and those work just fine. So
Awesome. That was a very lengthy response to where to get good quality links. All right, two more questions here from, I believe, Jennifer. Last one, second to last one, related to Jensen. Is there a way to not use Twilio because it is expensive and the numbers are not very local here? Can I get a real mobile number and hook it up to Jensen? Unfortunately, no, I don't think you can actually do that with any mobile number in any country. Um, Depending on where you are, try Google searching call tracking in your country. Twilio is one of the cheaper options. You can also check out SignalWire, which is going to be passively integrated into Jensen, kind of like we have CallRail and CallFire. And that is like 8 cents a number. I'm not sure if those numbers I doubt that they're going to have more coverage than Twilio, but that's a possible option. So if that's not the case, then you're going to have to go into Google and search for local call tracking numbers. And then the last question here before we move into our live questions is asking for access to the local lead gen site build SOP on Process Street. You can just send me an email, the letter N at jensen.ai, and I will share access with you. And then you'll be all good there. All right, shall we start cruising through these? We have a question from Miss Davies here. Can I use the same domain, pestcontrol.com, for both my PPC landing page and also for a site I want to rank organically? Yes, you can. I think we kind of actually touched on that in this initial questions that have been asked. But yeah, you can certainly do that. You can use a subdomain. You can also, quite honestly, just use a root domain like www.pestcontrol.com/my landing page one. You would have a better name, but you can just use internal landing pages and have them set to no index, which is probably the most common strategy. I guess if you're building the site out on WordPress or however you're building the site out, you're not going to be able to easily do a landing page and unbounce on the main domain if that main domain is already a site. You would probably have to get some technical jujitsu done with either Nginx or Apache or htaccess configuration files, which is not worth anybody's time. So the easiest way would be doing a subdomain on top of your root domain, and then having that subdomain specifically point to Unbounce or ClickFunnels. And that would be kind of the way around that. Next one here from Jason. One of my biggest struggles has been setting up a reliable framework and system to follow in order to streamline the process of setting up a lead gen site or SEO campaign. How are you coming along with the Process Street template? Any other resources or advice to nail down these processes? It's a great question, Jason. So I have been a little bit stalled. I honestly have been traveling back and forth between Ukraine and the East Coast for some meetings. I had a pretty enormous multiple seven-figure a year proposal that we knocked out about a month and a half ago that we've been going back and forth with the entity that's on the other side of that. I have my personal Trello board that has the rest of the videos I need to make, and then I think I need like 3 other of the checklist items. I love Process Street. It's something that my team uses for not only local lead gen builds, but we now have some WordPress web design work that we've been working on that build process goes through, is actually being put into Process Street right now. If you haven't checked out Process Street's starter templates, I recommend doing that. And that's kind of where I've been putting all of my SOP effort. So by the end of October, it's October 2nd, hopefully by quicker than the end, but at least by the end, I will have all of the rest of the videos filmed for the local, the lead gen site build, and I will be moving on to the AdWords update because that's super important right now to get knocked out. But yeah, hopefully that helps you. I don't know, David, what are you doing for your SOP and kind of internal documentation for your team?
Yeah, we use Process Street actually. Since you kind of brought me on to it, we use Process Street quite a bit. I mean, we still use Asana just for kind of like kind of like day-to-day tasks, I guess, but definitely for streamlining and building a framework, there's nothing better than like Process Street. So it's really, really easy to put that kind of exact the same way that you started yours and putting it in there. It's pretty easy to write some content, and then at least my go-to is really like we don't write out a lot. I'm a big video guy and also talking, so I'll literally just grab a screen recorder, record the exact action, and then have them do that, and then just do a bulleted point list of exactly the actions I took and writing that out. But I mean, yeah, if you're doing it all yourself, it's pretty easy to go ahead and create a structure of step one. Hey, this is I got to set up the ad campaign. Structure two, finding the city of the client that you just signed on, all of that information. That's kind of just a copy and paste. So you're really just gonna have to build that framework for yourself. And then obviously it needs to be a good framework where it's working for your client, it's generating leads, that kind of stuff. And then it really is a copy and paste, but you're going to have to just copy and paste the steps yourself, and recording that process and then putting it in Process Street would be your easiest way to go.
Awesome. Let's see. Next question here from, I believe it's Jorge, aka George. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Looks like he's come close 2 times in closing a deal for AdWords management, but have fallen off. Feels like he's actually progressing. I'm soon get my first sale. Has some access. Hasn't tried selling PPL, but you think PPL selling is easier? It definitely is. And the question is, how much capital would we be willing to spend going straight for PPL deals? I'm sure this may vary from CPC and search volume. Can you give us two rough estimates of how much we would have to spend for these two situations? One situation would be the CPC is around $10 and search volume of 500 a month. And the next situation would be the CPC at $25 with 1,000 searches a month. Jorge, real quick before we answer that, I recommend, if you haven't hopped on with Mark, David, or myself for the free consulting call, I definitely recommend hopping on with David and chopping it up a bit on
Yeah,
how to close.
I actually did with George. So
Okay.
yeah, we've kind of went over, and I think that's kind of where he's had some success with it. And then my suggestion is I have made that exact video, that goes over pricing for the leads. That kind of goes and gives you the two scenarios, that I put to the different ones. But I mean, in a short version, because you could go watch that video and it's very much more detailed. Um, but it would be, I mean, a good guide is like if your CPC was $10, and your search volume was 500 a month, like if that is around like maybe a smaller city in the HVAC niche or something like that, it usually takes around 3 to 4 conversions. So therefore, if you're getting it at $40 per lead and you're selling it for 55 or 60, you're making $20, but you're not going to get that until you go forward. So it's just realistically, I like to just say that you're going to be in it for about $600 to $800. In a smaller city, you wouldn't just go after Los Angeles or anything. But if you're trying to get a smaller client and they're just trying to get 10 leads a week or something like that in the home improvement, you're going to be in it about $500 to $600, to where you're obviously going to get that back, and you may just break even. You may be negative $100 the first week, but realistically, you're not going to be over the top, just losing money, especially if you're following Nate's training to the T. You're not going to, you're really, if you follow the training, you set up your framework and you have a great negative keyword list and you just start running that, you're not going to be losing money. Your biggest issue you might not be generating leads right off the bat. but Google has a real thing that they just don't like you until you start putting some money in. So just wait a solid week and it usually will get better. So
Awesome. Next question here, and it looks like we're getting towards the end. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to drop them in the box before we wrap this up. Last question, is the free consulting call open to us all? And yes, it is indeed. We all have a little bit of a different specialty. If you would like to hop on with me and you have technical questions, that would be much more up my alley. A lot of the deals that I work on, I hide behind Mark, who does the sales and the kind of the business structuring for the most part. I know David can help with anything related to sales, anything related to kind of the business side of running a PPL business, whether it's closing leads, prospecting, scaling, anything you need help with there. And then Mark has a very in-depth amount of experience across a lot of the business side. He does get his hands dirty with ad campaigns as well. And anything particularly related to agencies, Mark is an expert at building and scaling digital agencies, whether it's PPL or SEO or sounds like he's getting into some paid traffic stuff here coming up. So that's kind of whatever you would like to focus in on. You can just either drop a post into the Facebook group, reach out to us directly, maybe drop a Facebook post first just so we know to look, because I know it's on a rare occasion that I look in my filtered Facebook messages. And sometimes when I do, I realize that I was accidentally ignoring a Leads Academy member. But yeah, so free consulting call open to everyone. And it looks like,
Nate,
yep,
there's some other questions that they left on the Facebook group. So I'm gonna there's about 5 questions on there that two of them are for you and 3 of them look like they're from me. So I'm gonna just start on those real quick. They're from Xavier. And he said, this is a contract question. He said, I'm reluctant to do contracts with clients until I do some serious numbers with them. I want them to simply pay in advance for their order in the block of 10 leads, for example. Going into my pocket to supply them leads and then invoicing them later has burned me in the past. Your thoughts? So, my take on that is you're going to, no matter what, have a harder close if you're getting them to pay up front, but it is going to be less risk on your side. So if you have good, strong sales skills and you could get them to pay up front, then you're more than willing to go that route. We like to do and get guys on in numbers to where we're onboarding a lot of guys quickly. Therefore, the less risk on their side, the easier it is going to onboard them. But yeah, you do take that risk of putting your money out there and them, them not paying you for it or burning you in the past. Like you said, if that's your experience, then go the other route and go ahead and sell that with that process. You definitely can. We just do it a different way just because that's the cycle. So everybody, you're allowed to do whatever works for you. Try something. If it fails, try another way. If that fails, hop on a call with me and we'll figure it out from there. So the next 2 questions are for you, Nate. These are Jensen questions.
yep, staring at them. Okay, first one, can Jensen handle a paid advance arrangement with the client? So yes, we can do, we have a credit system that the client can top up. We do not notify when the balance is running low, and we also do not stop forwarding calls when the balance goes to 0. That is mostly because Jensen really powers a lot of our own deals, and it's such a big, complicated system that occasionally breaks when you move it, that like we have our stuff set in stone there. And we also run and are building Local Viking, which is growing at, I don't know, thousands of a percent difference in comparison to Jensen. So pretty much all of our engineering effort right now is on the local Viking side. There's a revival coming in the Jensen world that is going to be aimed around simplifying things a bit and solidifying a few things. Um, I have all of these notes already as existing requests. So that's going to be something that we work on over the winter. Um, just to be fairly transparent, we bit off a lot with Jensen, and the if you've ever been in the website builder and thought about how much it sucks, it was a horrible mistake buying a library from another group of developers, and it costed us like close to multiple six figures and a year and a half of my life to turn it from borderline trash to somewhat of a usable website builder. Um, so that kind of took a lot of wind out of our sails. And I was just in Pennsylvania last week making a game plan with Mark on looping back around to our baby and kind of taking the focus off of the website builder and putting a shoulder into the lead management. So hopefully that provides you some candid insight into what's going on with Jensen. And the next question is related to Jensen. After a form submit, can you explain what notifications are sent to the person submitting the form and what notifications are sent to our client? Does Jensen send email, text message, and or voicemail to each of them? So the individual submitting the form is by default going to get whatever notification your form system is going to send. So that person, like let's say you're using a WordPress site with contact form 7 or gravity forms, or just a regular, anything you do with a form, we're just transparently listening to form submits and sniping the data out of them into our system. And then we do send an email when a form submit comes through. We also send an SMS. Those are both configurable. And we don't send out a voicemail. So the world of Jensen notifications is a dark and confusing place. And there's like multiple different spots where you can set notifications. One is going to be in your settings tab that has the notifications tab. And then the second part is going to be in the actual site form editing interface, where you can set specific notifications based off of a specific form getting submitted. And hopefully that confusing answer helps you. If you want to hop on a call with me, I can walk you through exactly how to get all that put into place. And then it looks like, David, these next two might be for you.
Yep, let's do cold calling from this section. In the course, it sounds like many times you do not have the owner's name when cold calling. Your script says, are you the person handling your home advisor advertising? It may be beneficial, but not absolutely necessarily when cold calling. Isn't the home advisor scraper information enough to have a good call? Are the niches or company size that make it absolutely necessary? So the first one is, isn't the home advisor scraper information to have a good enough? Yeah, I mean, we're still calling them no matter what, if we have their name or not. We're obviously trying to find out their name, and I put that in the script, but it is, I mean, you're still trying to find that person's name, but with that scraped information, we do not go by unless the sales guys like go to their website and kind of match that up with the name that may be posted on their website. And then we'll ask for that person. But anything that's scraped in general is not usually 100% match. So we don't kind of go off of that. And then the other one was, are there niches or company size that make it absolutely necessary? Not necessarily. Pretty much like any niche that we're in and any niche that I recommend, it's always beneficial to know somebody's name. Your name is assigned to you since you're a little baby, so therefore you go by that. That you want to be called that, and when you get the wrong name, people do get pissed off. So, but you can always ask, "Hey, Susie, thanks for answering the phone." Blah blah blah. This is who we are. Who's the best person to speak with, and therefore that'll answer your question, because you always want to, especially when speaking with the owner, you definitely want to know their name when you're approaching them on the phone. When you're approaching them on the phone and asking them, if you're available, what's your name? So. The next one is sales team. What commission arrangement do you recommend for our sales guys? Other than commission, do you offer any other incentives? Sorry about that, guys. Calls today are going crazy. Yeah, we do commission arrangements. We definitely do. So I pay my guys $750 up front, and then they get about 150 to 200 residual on a monthly. So you can, depending on the profit that you're going to make, obviously you're going to have to kind of structure it around, what niche you're in, what kind of profit you make per sale. I invest a lot into my sales guys because they're kind of my go-to for approaching and onboarding new clients. I pay them quite a bit just to keep them happy, and also residual to keep them happy. And then the other question was, other than commission, do you offer any other incentive? I do all the time. Another guy was just telling me that his earbuds suck. I love goals for myself, so I also do them for my sales guys all the time, where it's, hey, your earbuds suck. Go ahead and close 3 clients the next 2 weeks, and I'll go buy you a new pair of earbuds. Another sales guy, his computer was having some issues. It was super slow. We were doing a screen sharing. I said, hey, your computer sucks, man. And he said, I know. It's only 2 years old. I'm not sure what's having issues. I said, close 8 clients this month and I'll buy a new computer. Boom, closed 8 clients. I bought a new computer. So I love good goals like that. It really makes them eager. Money is not always the go-to. So you got to know your sales guys, find out what makes them really, really eager, and it's a people relationship no matter. Same thing with your clients. Find out what it is that makes them happy, and really pounce on that and bring it to the table. So I think that is all of our questions for that. It looks like there's no other questions in the groups. I don't see anything else in there. So yeah, I think we will just go ahead and close it out from here. This has been recorded, so we'll go ahead and get this up as quick as possible. If you guys want to set up a meeting, go ahead and just put that in the post in there, or send me a direct message, any one of us, Nate or Mark, and we'll be good and ready to set it up. He already went over all of our skills, so whatever you're needing help with, we could definitely help out. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, this will be, the recording will be uploaded, and thank you everyone who joined us and stayed. And we will be scheduled for a November webinar, probably about the first week of November. All right. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon or a good evening, depending on where you are.